What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning in to Expert Mentors 310. Got Cuz in the house. What is happening?
What's up?
Man, so one, we're trying to stab this towards the end of the year, wanted to kind of end the year, but it doesn't really matter because what we're wanting to dive in today, like, man, it's the riddle that will unlock so much if you're able to understand and really nail. I think I don't want to set, kind of lead the witness and set the theme, but man, the word consistency is the biggest thing, and also predictability. Mm-hmm. And we operate under theory of constraints, just everything that we do. I think I've talked more about the goal in the last 60 days than I have in the last 10 years.
I talk about that book every day. I live that book now. Yeah.
And, for a lot of folks out there, if you have not, right, like, listen, we're more than qualified to help anybody, but we can really help you if you understand theory of constraints. And our mentor, Vern Harnish, #1 book recommendation from him is The Goal by Eli Goldratt. If you guys follow, most of you listening, you are students of Alex Hormozi. Hormozi operates under theory of constraints. He talks about it all the time. And so if you have not read The Goal, that's one of the best, fantastic. Get the audio version because it's told in a fable format and really start to understand. You get introduced to Herbie. So when we talk about Herbie, you understand what that means. But because we're going to get into consistency, predictability, consistently and predictably putting 2 to 3 deals on your plate like clockwork every single month. So I know we're going to get into that, but within the theory of constraints, we always talk about traffic conversion fulfillment. You obviously have retention or the P&L side of things or whatever, kind of that fourth bucket is. Yeah. But better said, traffic is consistent leads.
Right.
Conversion, consistent sales.
Yep.
Fulfillment is consistent results. Yep. And I love getting into this because we're really going to unpack on the consistent leads and the consistent sales, but you got to get consistent results as well. So there's kind of a sweet spot where they all come together. And listen, guys, why this is important that you want to tie all three together, because if you've got consistent leads and consistent sales, but you can't get results, we know a lot of those people, right? That are great marketers. They scream from the rooftops, but they can't close the back door if they had to. Mm-hmm. You're building something that essentially is, you're just building a bad brand, and you're going to get frustrated with it. And you're going to get burnt out with it. Right. So the fulfillment and the result side of things is also important.
John, the thing, so, I have the blessing of talking to, it's probably, I'm being conservative. I was conservatively say an average of 8 to 10 agents a day. It's probably more than that on average, but all different scenarios. But the thing that I hear, I hear a couple things every day that's the same. My repeat referral and sphere of influence isn't what it used to be. What I'm used to doing is not working as well as it used to. I know I need to do marketing. I just don't know where to start, or, I'm overwhelmed. But the thing that, oh man, I lost it. There was a point I was going to make, and then I started thinking about all the things people say to me, but it's very much the consistency and predictability is what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. But if you get real busy, this is the theory of constraints. Like, you get, if your biggest problem is leads and I turn on leads for you, at a certain point, if you're making the calls, now you're servicing the client. So now you're doing fulfillment. And once you get real busy in fulfillment, what do you think happens? You stop doing the calls. And right. So what happens to conversion? And this is what happens to fulfillment. This is what we call the real estate roller coaster.
Yeah. Well, that's the cash flow issues, right? Because you just nailed the real estate roller coaster, right? Because you're going to get them leads. They're going to pedal real fast to convert them. And then they're going to go into fulfillment mode. Yep. And then now get a lot of cash in the bank, and then they got to start all over from scratch instead of the consistent, because what they're missing is the consistent sales. You're getting them consistent leads, they're getting consistent results, but they're missing the sales, which now they run into cash flow issues, which is the real estate roller coaster.
Right. Yeah. It is certainly, this industry, I think it's fascinating to me when you really look back at, like, when we first bought, everyone's trying to get in your pocket. Okay. So, like, the good news is here, we ain't selling anything. So, like, we're going to teach you the game. But if you look at, we used to buy these platforms, Tiger Leads, Boomtown, Sync, we bought them all. Now in the beginning, why did we buy them all? We bought all of them. We didn't we, John?
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them. We
had all three of those at one time, guys, by the way.
All three at one time. Why? You know why we bought them? Because they sold them to us exclusively, right? And so they were selling us a platform because that their business model was a platform. Well, guess what we dummies needed that we didn't know how to get? Leads. So what did they do for us? They did lead generation. So so we're paying for this platform, and then they're going to run our Google pay-per-click, because that was really the thing back then. And you're going to pay cost per lead plus whatever they charge on top of that. I don't think we ever did that math, but it was more than, your dollars didn't all go to ad spend. So so to understand what you're paying to acquire a customer, and none of us did this math back then. We started to do it obviously back then, but most agents don't, is you got to take your platform cost. Back then it was $1,500 a month, most of them. And then your ad spend, and maybe you're spending $500 in ad spend. Now you're spending $2,000. Divide that by the number of leads, and that's your cost per lead. And so if you can acquire one deal a month off of 2,000, your customer acquisition cost is 2,000. If you make $10,000 on a commission, that's still not a bad deal. It is still pretty terrible, actually.
Good ROI.
Right. And so, but what if all 2,000 of that was going to ad spend? And so the truth was 500 would go to ad spend. Out of that 500, maybe it's 300 that goes to ad spend. And so, but we were, they were selling us a technology, that did all the, the keeping up of clients and emails and all that kind of automation. And so, but they were getting in our pocket in a big way. We're spending a lot of money with those companies to generate transactions, all because we didn't know how to lead generate. If we knew how to lead generate, we would have probably never bought, we would have bought a platform, but we certainly wouldn't have let them, let them do the lead gen. And as you look today, Zillow, they're, what are they, 41.5%. If agents understood customer acquisition costs, the worst case scenario would be back in the day would have been $2,000 to acquire one deal. We probably closed 2 or 3 on average a month, at least from each of those platforms. But if you understand customer acquisition costs, what does it cost for me to acquire a customer? Now let's put aside the fact that every single agent that's watching this has, if you haven't been in the business a while, you don't have repeat and referral, but you got people that know who you are, know, like, and trust you, sphere of influence. That stuff happens. It doesn't happen predictably. It doesn't happen consistently, but it happens. So you've got that business. Until you learn how to turn a stranger into a customer, you will never have a predictable and consistent business, unless you've been doing it for 30 years and you got client parties dialed in and you've got all, you're all inbound. That's great. If you got that, great. But if you want to grow, you can't go hit that lever, right? So like, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, if you go out and do all this networking and you met someone in the grocery store and you want to, I talk to everybody, I found one that wants to buy a house, and you can't go back to that same grocery store next week and do it again. I bet you money you can't. Right. So like, it's not predictable. It's not a process. It's not a system. It's not duplicatable. It doesn't happen every single time. And so, those are the challenges, now everybody else out there that understands marketing is like, how much can we get from the real estate agent? The shit, you think they'll pay 41%? I bet they will. And they'll use our lender. We'll make them. And so like all these people are trying to get in the pocket of the real estate agent because the commission is so big. It's $10,000 or more that you make on a transaction. And you're willing to, because you didn't spend a few dollars in marketing, you're willing to give up $4,000 on the back end and a referral fee. Have you lost your mind? If you're
here's the reality too of it, cuz, is that it's going to keep going up, because what do we know? We know traditional team agents are good with the 50-50, and some teams take 60 and you only get 40. So guess where it's probably going to go? It's probably going to go. It's probably going to keep going north.
This is how pricing works in everything. They raise the price until people say, I'm not doing it anymore. Now they're getting close to that. They're not there yet, but about 50%, if you take 50% of the deal, I'm going to learn marketing finally, right? Like, I'm going to figure this shit out. Like, so at some point, if the tax is too high, and it really is too high already. And the other thing I think that, that's unfortunate, but also very true. And I found this out in my own business as we built it, but there's this industry standard is over promise and under deliver. If you can learn how to sell someone something, then real estate agents will buy it. And so you buy Realty Geeks, you buy this thing, you buy that thing. The person earning the commission gets paid a commission, whether you ever sell anything or not. And they just go through a churn and burn. People come through, then they cancel. And there's 1.5 million real estate agents. How much money can we make selling them?
Somebody will buy it.
Right. And so, then eventually, and there's new people getting in every day and they don't know what happens when you get your real estate license. Besides the fact they give you a plaque that says figure it out because nobody's helping you. You gotta now it's like, well, all right, all those promises when I said I was, I was gonna come over here to this brokerage and I'm over here by myself just trying to figure it out. And then you're like, oh, the Zillow rep calls, and then how much money is that? And then you try it, and sometimes it works a little, sometimes not. But even Zillow can take 40%. You can make money and they can make money. That means that there's a ton of money in understanding how to acquire a customer. They get all the eyeballs naturally from Zillow from building out what they built. But if you can generate a lead at $3 to $5, what's the upside on that? You can do it over and over and over again. And that's, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, man, me and Mike were talking. We were at our kids' basketball practice. And Mike had sent me a text the other day and he's like, I'm a genius. And I was like, dude, what were you talking about when you sent me that? And he said, no, man, it wasn't anything specific. It's just like, we've done so much shit. We know a lot. And I was like, man, you're not joking about that. I was thinking about it too, because, the marketing and you going to Dan Kennedy and we flew around the country, John, since Jay Abraham. How many times were we in that tin can flying around trying to learn everything we've learned over the years? Like a lot of wisdom happens over, a lifetime.
A lot.
Right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent, but most people haven't ever been to a Dan Kennedy conference. Most people have never been to a Frank Kern conference. Most people haven't bought every product Frank Kern sells. So nobody has taught them how to get control of their own business and actually have a water faucet you can turn instead of, I get some deals from this referral source. If you close 15, 20 deals and they're coming from, these referral, Op City and the, whatever the one is that's police, fire, and all that, there's, what is it? Some Home Buyers of America or something, whatever it is. I don't care. Like you are giving up 25% of the revenue. If you're giving up a referral fee, if that's your business, if that's a big chunk of your business, certainly it's only because you haven't learned how to acquire a customer. Like if you learned how to do marketing, then we wouldn't even take those deals. Cardis, when we were Coldwell Banker, my dad had
38%, 39%. We were belly
crazy, right? Almost 40%. Man, I can't afford to go do that deal, spend all the same amount of time.
It's so funny too, is we would try to justify in our mind why it was okay to take it. Oh, well, this thing is free business, man. It's two and a half times the average sales price. We're gonna take this one.
Yeah.
And so what I want everybody to understand here is what we're talking about. And listen, if you've got a great repeat referral business, good for you. I'm sure it's really profitable. However, here's the downside of it, right? Because you're great at sales and you're great at results, but you're not great at consistent leads. You reach a revenue ceiling. You can only do so much, right? You're not going to be able to go to the next level if you're just waiting on the repeat referral inbound deal because you're not consistent at leads. Now, if you get a couple leads, you're going to do great. You're going to, sell them. You're great, world class at getting results. But you hit a ceiling, and that's where a lot of agents get, right? They get into a point, they've been in the game 5, 7, 8, 10 years, and they're stuck, right? They're stuck they're stuck at 400,000, maybe dip down a little bit. If the market dips down, maybe they drop back into threes, under 3, but that's where they're at because they can't get consistent lead gen. And you guys have to understand the give and take and why you have to nail all 3. The other thing too, cuz, and you said it a couple times, is that most real estate agents just don't know how to do the math. They just don't understand the math. And what you were talking about right here, in their mind, I got $5,900 coming in. What? Right. It's a $10,000 commission. You gave up $4,100 before your broker's taking any splits. If you're on a team, before any team splits, before anything else. And it's like, dude, you just don't understand how to do the math. And what you said a while ago, I want everybody to get their head around this. $3 to $5 per lead. Let's go $5 per lead. Okay. Right. Let's say worst case, you spend $500, you generate 100 leads, you convert one of those to a $10,000 commission. Guys, that's $500 versus $4,100. Mm-hmm. Would you rather take $9,500 or the $5,900? But most people don't stop and do the math,
Yeah, and that's more, way more. That conversion of 1% is the lowest I would see, and it's also that's more than you probably would have to spend to get to where you want to go. And I think I could drive lead costs down below $3. So that there's a huge deal. It's something that happens. So the constraint is usually the budget, right? So if somebody says, "Man, I don't know, about $500 a month," okay. So if we close it, it depends on how quickly we close the deal. But if we get 100 leads. Now let's put the automations in place, because it's about this is theory of constraints, John. You started with the right conversation. Okay, I got you 100 leads. Now what? How many did you speak to? Well, I spoke to 8 of them. Well, if I could speak to 30 of them and you only spoke to 8, who's going to sell more real estate? The person that speaks to 30. If you have 30 conversations, you're probably going to set 7 to 8 appointments, and you're probably going to sell 1 to 2 houses. So the immediate constraint before the technology was there to help us with this was you got now 100 people that you haven't got a hold of. Now with technology, we can leverage automated text, AI, voicemail, email, all of that to help you get into a conversation via text, via phone call. And so, that's why the measurement I look at is real simple. How many people did you talk? Your only goal in real estate, every mechanism, all the things you can do. How many conversations? I talked to a lady today that does events, like wedding planning event, like buys booths at these events and all these different things. And she's like, "Man, I did 29 deals last year. Most of them come from these events." She's doing all these events. I said, "Listen, I don't know." She was talking about all the expensive and this and that and the other, and all the banners and all this and that and the other. And I was like, there's a dollar amount you're spending, and there's a customer acquisition, and you're paying something, and then there's your time, effort, and energy that goes into all of it. I said, I'm not saying don't do it. I think it's a cool strategy if it's working, but go ahead and try to double your events next year and see if you can do it. That's the scale. So that that's one of the constraints for her is going to be, there's too much time, effort, energy going into it, and I can't do it at scale. So if we take and build another pillar where I can generate and increase the number of conversations with people who want to buy and sell and are open to doing business with you, that does better than the number of people that walk up to her at her booth and say, "I'm thinking about buying and selling." Like, which is probably not, truthfully, she probably wants it to work more than it actually works. Like, you're not really trying, like, tell me the real numbers. How many sales? Okay. Was it 29? No. All right. Was it 8? No. Was it 2? Okay. Well, we should probably stop doing it. But that's the truth of it is you want your thing to work better than it maybe does sometimes. But it's going to boil down to conversations per day with people that want to buy and sell and are open to doing business with you. What are all the ways? Okay. J. Abraham 101. All right. We can knock doors. All right. How many doors you got to knock? I think it's funny. If you don't get shot, there's people that still knock doors. Like, it's crazy to me. I don't know how long it takes. I don't know how many to find somebody who answers the door. I can't even hear the doorbell in my house. I never answer the door. So, like, I don't know how many you got to knock, but it's going to take you a while to find somebody like, what? As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of something. Like, it's the most randomest thing ever. You're better off in a grocery store where there's more people you could talk to. Like, that's just not a good strategy. But how many did you talk to? And so how many conversations do you have? And, I am thinking of selling, and I'd be open to doing business with you. If that's not the case, then it's not a qualified conversation. So that the goal, everything, open house, same thing. What are we doing? We're hoping people show up that want to buy and sell, and maybe they're open to doing business with me. Most of the time they avoid you like the plague. They don't want to sign in. They don't want to talk to you because they know you're just going to try to sell them. And so, all of these things, and we did them all, you can cold call, you can start in the phone book with you can do all of those things. And they're all going to have a certain number of conversations they create. If we can create 2 to 3 conversations a day by generating a $3 to $5 lead, I promise you're going to make the most money you've ever made in your career. Like, that's bar none. It's the most predictable, most consistent way to do it, especially with leverage of technology. And that's just, they don't, and the sad thing is, because nobody's helping anybody, log into your Facebook ad manager, watch these 10 videos and let me show you how to do this. Like, it's not easy. And so that's where I think people struggle is they know they should do it. They tried it once. They're in Facebook jail, they broke something and they, and then this is the real linchpin in this, John. And this is what I was thinking about when I was talking to Mike. I was like, they don't even understand message to market match. They didn't go through, they didn't read every Dan Kennedy direct sales marketing. They didn't listen to 25 hours of CDs of Gary Halbert talking about how to do a mail order how to get a mail, direct mail, where you got to mail something back when they didn't have the internet, and they have to send you a check, and what you have to say specifically in that thing to get that to actually work. Like, until you've studied the game, you're never gonna ever start doing ads on Facebook or any of that stuff and have any real success, because there's too many marketing principles that you're probably going to be missing.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. And that's really kind of the first constraint within consistent leads itself, is what's the offer? What's the value proposition, right? That's the very first one. And I heard Ryan Dice say this sometime last year, probably leading into goal. He's probably said it before, but he was like, listen, I don't want to hear about your goals. Your goals don't mean anything to me unless I know what your value proposition is. What is your offer and your value proposition? Once I know that, then we can talk about your goals.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, we're lucky in real estate because, the truth is the buyers aren't leads. You didn't say, hey, my name is John Kitchens. I represent buyers that want to buy homes, new construction homes in Frisco, Texas, or whatever. Mm-hmm. Right. Like, would you like to do business with me? Whatever that value proposition is, it's not that. So that's not what we're doing to generate leads. We're getting people to start a search for houses, and then we're chasing them down and trying to lasso them.
Yeah.
You buy one for me. That's not a lead. It's not actually a lead. Somebody who, if you're running an ad for a service or to make a sale, and you explain, here's what we do for you, and if you want us to do it for you, let me know. That is a real lead. And so, we're lucky in real estate because they want the product, but the product can't, they can't go buy that product without you. So if you can get them looking at the product, then you can catch them and you can do business with them. And that's, primarily chasing business, which I hate. But that's what everybody else is out there selling. And so the thing people run into is when you got a lot of repeat and referral business, that agent, if you're that agent that does a ton of repeat and referral, you're going to tell me, I know you will, because every one of you will, is that I win every listing. Like they always say, oh yeah, that's because they were already predetermined to do business with you because someone else influenced them and said they should use you. So you really didn't have to compete. And you were gifted that on a platter. That's great business. I'm nothing against that. Like that's great. But when you go to generate a lead and you have to say in the first 15 seconds on the phone something to continue that conversation, or that conversation ends, there's a skill set involved that you have to develop. And if you haven't developed that, a lot of people go like, yeah, I know I should buy leads, but they're like, man, this sucks. This is harder work, man. I got to actually, I got to talk to a lot more people. I got, it's a lot different. And so there's, that's where the skills have to come in. And so for you to have the skills, this is why everybody we ever coach, John, like I say, I don't know, you tell me the number. I used to say, I think it's 100%. If not, it's real close, of people that were highly successful at building the business and evolved to marketing and really becoming a brand and dominating their market. They all had learned the skills, and they mostly did it on expireds and FSBO and lead generation and making those calls and getting dialed in with scripting and knowing how to do that. They got repeat referral and business like that too, but they had to learn that skill so they could afford to do marketing, because you can't afford to do marketing if you don't have those skills and you talk to 10 people and 9 of them say no, or 10 of them say no. And that, so there's a lot of pieces that kind of have to come together for you to actually be successful in this business. And I think most people underestimate. That's why they just like, hell, I'll give them $4,000 and
they just give up. Yeah, they just throw their hands in there because they're overwhelmed. They don't have the right mentorship. They don't have the right guidance. That's what I would say. If you're brand new, the best thing in the world you could do is get on, a world-class team with great leadership and great training, so you can focus in on developing those skills. And once you have that sales capabilities to be able to have a conversation and navigate through that conversation, then learn the lead generation side of things. If you're not already with a leader or a team or an organization that's doing those things, and then just sit in, learn how to create and generate those opportunities. The one thing you said, and I've taken it a step further with myself and with a few others so far this year. You said conversations per day, but I think it's more so conversations per hour. And what are we doing to increase our conversations per hour? And what you're talking about, what you've done And really with the lead generation side of things gives you the opportunity to increase conversations per hour, because open house, yeah, you might create as much crazy demand. You might run the best open house event structure. Nicole Ambrose has one of the best ones that I've ever heard from an event side of things, with the neighbors bribing buyers agents with wine to bring buyers by, to where you got a lot of traffic. So in a short period of time, you can influence and have a dramatic amount of conversations per hour. But I think that's the key, right? Is like, man, how many conversations per hour can I have, and how many hours do I need in order to hit my, my financial goals of what I need to do, instead of just randomly trying to let things happen by chance is kind of just a recipe for disaster.
100%, man. 100%. And so, if you, I think if you're an agent and you're listening to this, think about all the things that you're doing. And is it going to lead to a conversation with somebody who wants to buy or sell, and that's open to doing business with you? And then, that's what we have to solve for. And so that's why, when we used to do, when we built the coaching company, we would coach, and then we'd be like, yeah, go do this, and this. And, a handful of people that could do that would go do that. Boom, their business would grow. And then the rest of them, about 80% would be, they get stuck somewhere in implementing all of that. Right.
Yeah. And that's the real risk, right? That's the real risk, is the implementation. That's where the risk is in the implementation. And, man, sometimes, you've got so many things on your plate, so many obligations, you're just not clear where to prioritize that. This is the implementation. And for a lot of people, even like me, and really understanding this at a core, like with the Working Genius, tenacity is a frustration of mine. And so what that means is that I've got to have good people, good team around me
100%
to be able to actually, I got to have that leverage. Right. Yeah. And so, that's the risk, is the implementation. The information's there. Yeah. Everything's available. But
so earlier, I think what I ADHD moment. So the thing people tell me is like, man, I'm good when I'm face to face, man. If I could, I'm good on the phone. I'm good with people. Like that's, and that was me too. Right. Like, but let me log into YouTube and try to build a YouTube banner. I'll be there all day. Like, and my head will be above the damn thing. I can't make it fit. Like, this is not what I'm built to do. Okay. That's just not. And so most people like, hey, watch these 10 videos, log into your ad manager. Good luck. You're like, you're going to want to poke your eyes out with needles. And so, and you're going to fuck it up. Like, you're going to fuck it up a lot probably before. And if you're tenacious enough to be like, that didn't work. And because most people go, that doesn't work. No. It's not that it doesn't work. This is optimization time. If you just start running your first ad, you got about 30 iterations before you're going to get what actually works the best. Yeah. So let me change the image. Let me change. Like, how many iterations did you go through? People that say that doesn't work. No, it works. You just don't know what you're doing yet. And the people that say things don't work are the people that never become successful. The people that know, like, I know this shit works and people do it, and I see ads every day and there's people doing it and it's working. And I've had enough people tell me it works that I know I'm missing something, and they keep trying to figure it out and iterating. And so, but I can tell you, it's, you got to decide that you want to become an expert, like, or you got to have help. And that's, I think that's what we've evolved to, and what we did at, Partner before we were at EXP was, you know what, man, y'all, I can't even get y'all to make the calls. They don't want to do any of the work. All right, we'll make the calls. All right, we'll do the ads. We'll build your brand. We'll do the call. Like, we did it all for them. Like, will you show up for the appointment? Will you put the check in your account at least? Like, take the money. If I hand it to you, will you put it in your bank account? I can do that part. All right. Basically, we'll do everything else. And so, like, as much as that's where the real, but now, you paid us $7,500 to join the brokerage, and then you were on a 50-50 split. I was taxing you just the same as everybody else was back then. And so, but today, thanks to EXP's model, we built a $100,000 a month marketing and implementation team, and we just do it all for you. So, like, you don't have to figure all this shit out no more. And nobody else is doing it. No one else will ever do it, because what I know how to do is build a team, build processes and systems that are predictable and consistent, do it over and over and over again to get the same result, and help you get through all the roadblocks so that you are successful. And I don't need your money. Like that's a super unique thing about that. Like the skill is so valuable. Zillow is going to take 40%. Like I could do the same thing. I could do this, come into your marketplace and sell it to you and say, I'll do it all for free. I'll even run the ad spend, and we did that. We did it. We did that years ago too. And we got up to a point where we were making, it was north of, the last month I remember was like $89,000 in checks came in from referral fees. And we were like, we didn't even know that shit was coming in because we couldn't track it or anything. But we had, a bunch of money coming in from referral fees. But, that's a lot. I could make a lot of money doing that, but what if you could just keep all that money and let my team do it all for you and you didn't have to pay the tax and you just got to keep all the money? Wouldn't that be better? How good of a recruiting message is that? It's because when you talk to an agent about wanting to change brokerages, the answer is always no. It's like, man, I'm over here trying to figure it out. You want me to come over there and try to figure it out? Like, how the hell is that going to help?
Yeah.
It's not, the brokerage doesn't solve your problem. It's a vehicle for you to get to your goals. Well, the vehicle of EXP now with us has $100,000 a month marketing and implementation team to do all the things that you don't know how to do. And we don't have a reason to charge you for that because we get paid if you sell more houses. So we're going to just help you. And that's fundamentally never been done in the industry. And because anybody that can do what I do, especially with AI and the things that we're doing there, they're going to be like, man, real estate agents will pay a lot for this because they will. And that's that. But I'm in a different frame and a different model that I don't wake up thinking about, should I charge $9.97 or $14.97 or $29.97, or let me build the course and I'll sell it to you as like all these influencers do. I get paid a lot of money. I don't need the money. I just need people that want my help. And let me just do it for you. And again, what's super cool is, and I didn't really, I've always, we always used to say, man, it works in every market. And, every market's different. Everybody always said that. And we were like, no, it's not. It's all the same. No, it's all different. Every marketplace fundamentally. And who was I talking to this morning? I can't remember what the market was. There's 2 or 3 calls I had this morning that, you get into the, to the market data of where they're at. It was Pickerington. I think the city was Pickerington. Anyways, there's people moving there. Right now, there's people buying where you live. There's people moving there. And who are they? Do you know who they are? Most people will say, yeah, I kind of know what, in Frisco, like we know people are coming from California. But if you run this through AI, it's going to tell you they're coming from California, Washington, and Oregon. They're 46 years old. They got a tech job at Toyota or a tech job at Dr. Pepper Keurig. And these are their hopes, fears, concerns, and desires about making everything you need to be able to actually market to them and talk to them like with a tuning fork. You have all that information. That was kind of we used to guess. We were pretty good at guessing. It was like, man, I know these people are moving here, getting jobs here and here because they're the 2 biggest companies. But when you use AI, it tells you exactly. And so it's fascinating to me because like every market like has a different dynamic of why people are moving. Sometimes it's baby boomers downsizing. Sometimes, but every market's a little different. So once you know where the search volume is and you know where the inventory, the most inventory and the most inventory that's moving is, now you can craft a marketing plan around going after the most likely person that's going to buy and sell. And that's super unique to what it's not what Zillow's doing. That's not what they're doing. They're just getting, hey, somebody clicked on a house. Here you go. Make sure you use our mortgage company. That's not a lead. That's just somebody for you to chase. And, I was talking to a lady yesterday, Animal. She's awesome. Crushing it in her market, dominates in her market. Her and Cindy O'Gorman are head to head every day, kind of like we were in our market. And, she didn't have to really lead generate, but she did, direct mail marketing and a bunch of the stuff that creates inbound. But I forgot what I was going to say about it, but it'll come back to me, but there was something there that she was doing that was, in alignment with what I was saying. But anyway, ADHD is a bitch, man.
Good thing you're in a small room. So,
right. Go back around.
Yeah. I think looking back at this, man, is, there's so many different ways and, I just don't believe without a consistent lead gen, you could reach your full potential. And, there's all kinds of things that we'll pay for. We'll pay for these ideas. We'll pay for frameworks. We'll pay for accountability. But the most powerful thing to invest in and pay for is done for you, right? To be able to go that route, to be able to have that because you remove a lot of the risk, like I was saying, with the implementation, that's getting in place. And that's the biggest barrier that holds a lot of people back. They just don't have the tenacity to work through it, to build a consistency machine.
Think about it this way. Okay. You remember back in the day when Sandra used to work for us?
Yeah.
You remember, so let me tell you how good we are as real estate agents at making hires. So let's say you're like, man, I know I need some leverage. I'm going to make a hire. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to hire somebody to help me with all this stuff. You're not qualified. You don't have a system. You don't have an onboarding process. You don't know what their responsibilities are. You haven't done this before. Okay. You're going to fuck that part up real quick. Okay. So, Sandra was, pleasant, great, but Sandra's job was to keep in touch with all of the sellers. And one day, you remember this story? One day, Sandra, we started getting emails and people pissed off, sellers. I'd never had that happen before. We're like, what's going on? Why are these people like not getting an answer or whatever? Sandra would get voicemails all day long and she'd just delete them at the end of the day. And so all these sellers would be in her inbox. Her inbox would be full and she'd just never call them. And then at the end of the day, so we wouldn't see it, she would delete them. So, like you're going to make it, you're going to go hire someone to help you with all this stuff. And you're probably going to mess that up too. And so we had to go through that. We're like, okay, we need some core values or something here. Like all of those evolutions of things are like, okay, that's not how you hire somebody. How do we make that mistake? And so you get, if you're not resilient, you're going to have to go through a whole lot of learning in a whole lot of different areas that you really haven't anticipated. It's the same reason that most people that build a team too early fail. It's not only is it reverse leverage, you may be good at what you do. Good luck trying to babysit a bunch of real estate agents and getting them to do what you do. They're not going to be, it's not going to be the same. And again, they still are at the stage where they haven't done math. So another call this morning, 80-20 splits for buyers agents. They're on 80-20. They get 80. I said, well, you're going to go broke.
Going to go broke in a hurry. Because I promise you, they don't understand salary cap and their overhead is bloated.
Yeah, you're dead and you don't even know it. That's like you're dead and you don't even know it yet.
You don't even know it.
and the day before that, I talked to a lady and she had opened her own brokerage and she said, I made $140,000 the year before. I made $40,000 last year. And she had told us what she'd been focused on. She's like, well, I opened a broker, so I figured I got to go get agents now. I was like, yeah, how'd that work out for you? Like you made $100,000 less. So, how much do you got to learn to get to that next, to get to the next level? It takes you, let me tell you what it takes you, 29 years this year. That's what it takes. It takes you decades. But when you get around the right people and you have the right support and they built the systems, then you can leverage that. And that's where you hit the ground running. The thing I've noticed, like people that haven't had a bad experience, like if you hadn't tried to do all this shit on your own, you don't really appreciate the experience of it being done for you. You know what I mean? Like you think, well, this is probably how it is when you get in the business. Yeah. It's not, they don't do it for you. You got to figure it out. And so, that's an industry. The industry standard has been for way too long has been overpromise, underdeliver.
Yeah.
If you go interview 10 brokerages that you're going to join, they're going to all overpromise and all underdeliver. And you're on your own. And that's the truth. That's just the way it is. But yeah, that's why I wake up every day, man. I'm passionate about what we do. Getting to help people not have to go through that.
Yeah. It's the thing, right? Like with audience, there's a principle out of here of what you're offering, because with your on the leads in your audience, you either the slow process of growing it, right? It's like growing a garden, right? It takes time, it takes a lot of nurturing, takes a lot of consistency, which most people are not consistent. So it takes a long time. You can buy the audience, or you can borrow the audience. You can also borrow the support in the implementation. That's when you're going through, that's where my mind was going, is like, where's the audience with this? And I'm like, a lot of people don't even know where to think through there. And there's so much, right? And it just takes time, but you can collapse time getting into the right situation to where you can have that implementation team done for you, to where you can borrow those resources to help you accelerate where you're at in your career to be able to build the consistency.
Yeah, but but where does that exist right now? Think about it. So, if you join someone's team, they're leveraging you to build their business and their brand. They're not building your business and your brand. So that's not the leverage you're looking for your business. It's leverage, but it's not building a business. You go to a broker, if they're going to provide any of that support, what are they saying? Yeah, we're a 70-30 split here. And we take care of that for you, but you're going to give us 30%. So basically we're putting you in the highest tax bracket, at the IRS bracket, that you could be in. And, so now, okay, you give me 30%. That might not be a bad trade if you had all this figured out. It might actually be okay. But that's a tax, right? And so nobody wakes up and says, "Man, let me just help you with that, and you keep all the money." Nobody does because there's a percentage of the business that's historically always been taken for the people that solve this problem, and so and then everybody, you got to make your way through all the influencers that are full of shit and ain't never sold anything, that are selling you a course. And then you got to watch 100 videos and go figure all that out and hope that it's
not going to.
Right. It's just, it's there, there's a reason there's only, it's lonely at the top, man. There ain't a lot of people that climb the mountain. But I don't think it has to be that way. I think that when you have the right support system around you, and again, the vehicle doesn't exist without the vehicle of EXP. I would be charging an arm and a leg for this, like we used to.
You have to. Mm-hmm.
That would be how I'd monetize it. I just don't have to monetize the agent, and that's super unique. Like that's this is like the first time. It's not the first time we talked about it publicly because I do have a webinar for it, but not very many people know what we're doing. And as soon as people figure out what we're doing, it's going to be a large influx of people making a move to EXP, because you would be financially irresponsible to keep trying to do it the way you're doing it, and you're getting taxed, and you shouldn't be. And that's
and especially if a massive amount of your business is built on these referral based companies and portals, and understanding the real math and not the realtor math, the real math. And in the example we gave earlier, instead of giving 4,100 or 41% or 40%, and you're able to, on a worst case, right, spend $300 to $500 to turn and get the 10,000 instead of spending the $4,000 to get the 6K. You're spending 500 to keep 9,500. So like it's just truly once your head can get around and understand the customer acquisition cost, which is what we started with talking about early on, then you understand like, okay, well that makes sense. Well, how do I do that? And I started reading, dude, this, like, I love Vern Harnish, but I hate that dude. Because every time I open his dang newsletter, I order a new book every dang time. And I was good last year. I didn't open that newsletter very often, but I've opened that newsletter.
Yeah.
And Vern's fantastic. And so one of the books he's pushing right now, he obviously wrote the forward in, but it's talking about core turnaround strategy. And obviously these are $20 to $50 million companies that is kind of based upon the turnaround. And he said, listen, and where we learned a lot of stuff too, I think, remember that book, who was, man, it shaped a lot of the decisions that we made. It was, Warren Buffett's go-to guy when he invested in a company, he would send this guy in to turn the companies around. Remember, it was a real hardcover, short, small book, real thin, fantastic book. Right. I'd have to go back and revisit it, but I think it changed the way we thought and implemented so much, just because we lived in freaking Lawton, Oklahoma, and it felt like every day was a turnaround.
Right.
And so, but what he said is that you need three things. You need a plan, right? So we talk clarity and a plan, atomic habits, right? Yep. You're setting yourself up for greater success if you have clarity and a plan. So you need a plan. Your turnaround requires a team. Because what are you providing?
A team.
And the third part is it needs financing. So you've got to make a little bit of an investment. Like you're talking like, hey, the team's going to do this, but you need to invest into the opportunities, which is a small amount, instead of waiting to pay the hefty tax on the back end. Because that's what a lot of agents are doing. They don't want to spend any money out of pocket, which is $500 to make 10,000, or I can pay 4,000 on the back end to make 6. Right. That's the thinking that they go through. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I'll go with the 6. I'm good with the 6.
Until they change the rules or they give it to somebody else. You ain't in control of it. That's for sure.
So I just thought it was important. I just wanted to touch on that, obviously, because what I'm reading right now. But
John, you know what's for another day, maybe conversation, me and you. What's really interesting if you take that philosophy and look at what I've done, right? And so, we were recruiting to EXP quite successfally at 8,000 agents or whatever the case was. It was 7,907 January 1st of 2025. It's at the beginning of this year. It's 8,509. So for the first time in 2 or 3 years, we hit a lull, and I was like, I don't like it. I want to see it go north. How do we make it go north? So what did it require? It required me to make an investment, and that investment for me is
the financing, third part,
right? And so that that's part of in order to make it change. What did I have to do? I have to provide a value proposition that's more than just join my Monday mastermind call or my Tuesday call and my Wednesday call. That's all good stuff, but man, when people where the anxiety gets removed for people, and when they're like, man, you mean you're going to just do it for me? Thank you. Like, finally, somebody's
that risk.
Yeah. And we're going to give you the keys to the Ferrari. So it's yours. You don't got to give it back. It's, you don't have, if you,
I'm not holding on to your data. I'm not keeping it for you.
It's your Ferrari. You got to do, we're even going to maintain that thing for you. So we're going to take care of it for you. We're going to show you how to drive it. We're going to make sure that you know how to hit the corners in it and everything else. Just try not to crash it, whatever.
The only thing that I ask is that you read the owner's manual of what to say and how to talk to this Ferrari. That's all I ask you that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's so good.
That's the skills. And if you don't have, if I give you 100 leads and you don't talk, if you talk to 30 people and you don't set one appointment, you know what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about what the fuck are you saying on the phone?
What are you doing?
There's a skill, a gap in skill. We can fix that. That's the, it's easy for us to diagnose, because everything is tracked. We know, okay, we got to the goal of 30 conversations and we didn't get any appointments. That's where the bottleneck is. That's where Herbie is.
Yeah. And the biggest thing too, cuz, is that, you're removing a lot of the things that can be the issue. Right. Mm-hmm. So you're increasing the probability of success, and you're putting very few, where can it be broken, back on the agent's plate, 100%, which is amazing.
That's why when I said this earlier, you'll appreciate that. I don't know how many people that are listening are going to get this. When I say I'm living the theory of constraints, in order for me to knock down all those barriers, what happens? What's a bottleneck? Where's a bottleneck that we run into? They're in Facebook jail. Okay, we can't run the ads. Now they're here with us 30 days and we can't get them leads. Okay, day one, what are we doing? Ordering your A2P. Why? It takes 10 days for that to get approved. That's step one. Get that bottleneck out of the way. I'm trying to remove all the bottlenecks so we can have throughput. And I know all the things that could go wrong, mm-hmm. and then some. There's some more that we didn't know. There's always something you're learning as you're going through it. And you're like, okay, how do we? And so then what we're doing is feedback is every day you can come into our office hours, ask us anything you want. Whole team's there. And if you get 2 or 3 or 4 questions that are the exact same, what does that tell you? Something somewhere that should be communicated. That should be easier to find. Let's do that for them. It's helping us, we're getting this feedback loop every day of how do we make it better? How do we make it better? And, every meeting, every strategic planning, you would probably agree with me. I don't know. I became more of a processor, so this might not be true. But for most of my life, every meeting that I had strategic planning, I came with some marketing and sales objectives.
It was always number 1 or 2 every time.
Always number 1 or 2.
Always number 1 or number 2. I don't listen, like seriously, cuz we really got serious about strategy in 10, and then we stayed disciplined, real hardcore discipline with it every quarter for every business. For a good, all the way till 17, 18, 19 timeframe, we were religious with it. We never missed a quarter. It was on point. It was in the calendar. And we were from 1 day to 5 days, like religiously. Every one of those strategies, priority number 1 or priority number 2 was always a sales or marketing initiative.
Yep.
Every time.
So imagine this. I literally don't have a sales and marketing initiative. Like there could be one, but I'm not selling anything. So I'm like, well, what do I need to, if you make the product good enough, you don't have to worry about sales. And I've always heard that. Never experienced it, But
we heard about it all the time. It's like,
like,
where's that unicorn at?
people
Where's
have
that unicorn?
We're like, oh shit, you better be working on marketing and sales, or you're not going to sell anything. And that was, that's part of just, I think our journey. But when we go in, it's all, how do we make it better? How do we add to it? That's really unique. It's a weird place to be honest with you, but it feels good because you're not worried about trying to hit a sales number and trying to, and trying to push when you're not ready. You're trying to make sure you're ready. Can we do more? Can we help more people? Can we make it better? That is a unique place to be. And I think fundamentally, most people don't probably ever get to experience that in a business where you don't have to worry about, unless you raise money and you can just burn through it. And,
burn it. It's still, cause been absolutely fire as always. And man, I know we put a lot there, and definitely some context and definitely some cadence to kind of the right things, right order, understanding theory of constraints. But listen, guys, if this is one of the things you're missing in your business, hit up Cuz, hit up me. Love to have a conversation with you, how we can get this installed into your business. I promise you, you don't think you need it because you haven't had it, but once you have it, you won't ever want to not have it again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Stop paying the tax.
Stop paying the tax. Cuz, appreciate you. Guys, keep rocking.
Yep.
I'll see you guys.
Bye-bye.
That's it.